Okay, so here we are with Remy, and we're working with her on this slip lead, and we're working on her basic obedience commands using the leash pressure and medium value food. Sit. Good. Let's go. Good job. Sit. Good. Down. Uh-uh. Down. No. No. Down. Mm-mm. Mm-mm. No. No. Down. Good. No. Down. Good. You'll notice if you were looking from my perspective, this dog is not looking up at my eyes at all. Now she is, now that I said that. Good. She's just staring at the hand. And if we've never used a treat pouch, what can happen is this: we always have food in our hand when we're telling the dog to do stuff, and the dog starts learning. If there's food in their hand, I listen. If there's no food in the hand, I don't listen. It's really important we use one of these treat pouches so that when the dog looks up at us, good. We say good. We reach in and we give them food. And that's how we teach the dog to look up at us and pay attention to our eyes and our face and not just be staring at our hand. No, down. I'm not using a lot of force. It's important to note I'm not forcing the dog. I'm using about 10 or maybe 20 pounds of pressure, but I'm just holding my hand stable in this position. I'm not forcing the dog down. When she lays down, the leash is going to become loose. No, good. People are going to ask, Eric, why aren't you saying the command over and over again? Well, that's how we kind of got to where we're at with dogs that don't listen to us. Okay. They're used to us just saying things over and over again, and pretty soon they start to tune out what we're saying and they just try to figure it out on their own. Okay. Down. No. Down. Good. Good. I don't really care that she's not staring up at my eyes. I'm just noticing she's not staring at the pouch and she's holding the position. So I say sit, I apply pressure up. When the dog sits, I release the pressure. Good. Then I give food, assuming the dog stays in position. Sit, apply pressure, release. Good. Give food. But I'm not giving her food because she's getting out of the command. She needs to hold the command. So fundamentally, we got to understand this. Okay. If we don't use the leash and we don't use a treat pouch, the likelihood that we have a dog that's actually trained that like listens to us and our voice is going to be less likely than if we use a leash and we use a treat pouch and we practice using the leash as we give commands and then rewarding. We're going to have a dog that is more likely to be actually trained where we say stuff and they listen. And that includes saying no, stop, and the dog just stops. Um, so sit, good. When I'm saying good with her, I'm not releasing her. Good. Sit. Good. Sit. Good. Good. So now she's understanding. Oh, he wants me to hold the sit. What I'm teaching her is impulse control, how to control her impulses. When you have a dog that's resource guarding and going after dogs and going after things, there's a part of them that's impulsive. Man, I need to grab that. I need to take that. I need to take that bone from her. And we're teaching her right now, you don't need to do what you think you need to do. You need to control your impulses, actually. No, good. And controlling your impulses to do what you just instinctively feel like doing is a good thing because you're going to get rewards from me. Good. So you saw I pulled up, she sat, I released the pressure. Good. I pay her, she stays in position. Sit. Good. The only time I'm repeating a command is when the dog is already in the command or they're doing the command. So me saying sit right now, she's sitting. One way of thinking about giving commands is if you're willing to bet $500 that you say it and the dog's going to do it, then say the command. If you're not willing to bet 500 bucks, don't say the command because if the dog doesn't do the command, you're going to probably say the command again and the dog is not going to understand that you say it and they do it. Good. And this is why it's so important we have the leash on. Only with the leash on can I be clear, hey, I'm going to say it once and then I'm going to make you do it. And that's how I stop repeating myself over and over again. So she's holding her sit. Good job. And you saw she heard me reach in here. She wanted to get up. She controlled her impulse. Good. 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 Now, what we're going to work on with her is her going to her bed and staying down. Let's go. Let's face it, nobody wants to put the dog in a crate. I mean, that's not true. I'm a dog trainer. I like putting the dog in the crate. But other than trainers, we don't want to put the dog in the crate. So what we want to do is we want to get the dog used to the point where, hey, we can send them to their bed and they'll lay in their bed. They'll stay in their bed on command. When we have multiple dogs in the household, that's a really effective way to have multiple dogs and avoid having conflict. Hey, you go to your bed and you stay there and have your bone, and you go to your bed and stay there and have your bone, and you're not allowed to get out of your bed just because you finished your bone and go steal her bone. You can't do that. So when I start teaching the dog to stay on their bed, I want to use a raised bed like this, something that's very easy for the dog to understand that they're either on it or off of it. And I want to use a raised bed like this and introduce them to this concept of stay with this different type of bed. It's going to be a lot easier for them to understand it. If I send them to their normal bed and I practice having them stay there, and then Tuesday at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, they go there and they lay down, they may be confused. Hey, did he send me to my bed and I'm supposed to stay here? Or am I just going to my bed and I get up when I want? So when I start teaching them on a place bed like this, I start teaching them very early on. Hey, if I send you somewhere, you stay there, and you can still have a bed. You can go lay there and get up and as you please, no problem. But this, sometimes I tell you to go somewhere and you stay there. So all we're working on with her now is her staying on the bed, and I walk around and she's just going to stay on her bed. Good job, baby. Good. You'll notice I'm being super calm. I know people's heartstrings are going to get pulled seeing this dog and the sad face, and they're going, why isn't he petting the dog? Why isn't he getting the dog excited? Well, because I'm helping the dog learn how to be calm. I'm helping the dog learn how to chill. Helping the dog not have to be in a state of anticipation and wondering what's going to happen next and where are we going from here. I want the dog to just learn, no, I just sit here, good. I chill out, I relax, I don't have to worry about anything. But oftentimes we're uncomfortable with the dog being so calm. It makes us uncomfortable. We project onto the dog that the dog's sad or depressed in some way. We're used to the dog being happy when they're playing with the ball, but we have to understand they can't be like that all the time. No more than I can be like that all the time. Good, good, good. So all I'm doing here is I'm using the leash to keep her on her bed. Why am I not saying a command? Because she's not really quite ready to do the command of go to your bed and lay down. So all I'm working with her on is just creating this idea of, hey, you're going to go here, you're going to stay here. Good. I'll give you food, but I'm not going to give you a bunch of food. I'm going to use the leash to basically make you stay here. I don't mind if you get up and turn around. You just can't get off the bed. No. So I use my body language like this and I use the leash. And I kind of push the dog back to their bed. Or I use the leash and I pull the dog back to their bed. Good job. Good. Good. You could see I'm purposefully pretending to be kind of distracted right now. If whenever I'm training, I have 100% of my focus on the dog. And then when Then when I'm not paying attention to the dog 100%, the dog's gonna do what it wants, and that's how you end up with this type of dog who's kind of sneaky, and you're not watching her, and then she just does something crazy, but she was fine when you were watching her. So this is where real training comes in. With real training, the dog understands, hey, I do this whether or not anybody's watching. I do this whether or not somebody's going to give me food. I do this whether or not somebody's got the remote collar on me. This is just what I do. I'm trained. Good job. Good. Good. Good job. Good girl. Good. No. So when I say good to her, I'm just saying keep doing what you're doing. Good. So let's go over what I have gone over so far. Unless I'm going to bet $500 the dog is going to do the command, when I say it one time, I'm not going to say the command. Unless I know the dog is going to do the command properly, I'm also not going to say the command. If the dog isn't capable of doing the command properly yet, I'm not going to rush to try to name the command. And in this case, I'm talking about, place or go to your bed. No, no, what I'm going to focus a lot more on is my own ability to good, say good when the dog's doing the right thing and deliver food in a way that helps the dog understand, hey, don't just stare at my hand all the time, but look up at me and I'll say, good, you got it right. I practice using my leash skills to guide the dog physically into the right position so that the dog understands through the leash what I'm telling them what to do. Good. I work on saying no when the dog's doing the wrong thing. And I also work on catching myself that I'm not repeating things over and over again and confusing the dog. Good. I'm also touching in with myself. Hey, is this session going smoothly? Am I feeling calm right now? Is the dog feeling calm? Does this seem to be making sense? Are we headed in the right direction very clearly? I would say, yeah, we're headed in a great direction. She was struggling holding a sit, and now she's sitting here holding her sit in her bed. When I walk around like this, she's not even getting up to turn and follow me with her whole body. Good job, mama. To be clear, there's nothing wrong having food in my hand. You noticed I had food in my hand when I was working on her down, but I want to be conscious. Do I have food in my hand because I'm working on the dog following my hand into some sort of position? Or am I having food in my hand? However, I need to move to the next step of training, which is not having food in my hand and telling the dog to do it and then giving them food. Good job, mama. Good. No. Can I use my body language to tell the dog to stay? Good. Does the dog understand how to respect my personal space? And if I try to move the dog away from me, the dog understands, give space. Good. When we have a clingy dog like this, a lot of times what happens is the dog doesn't know how to move away from us and they start feeling nervous next to us and we don't know how to tell them, hey, move away from us. Like, go stop. I don't want you feeling nervous next to me. I don't want you resource guarding me. Just go be a dog, just go explore, go do your own thing. Or, hey, you're getting nervous being next to me. Move away from me so that you're not making yourself nervous. Good. Dog training is really boring, especially at first. Eventually, with time, it becomes really interesting. But initially, it's super boring. I mean, who wants to do this? Put her in that position and just walk back and forth like this. But if I don't do this and I don't make small distractions, good. And then one day I try to put her in a sit and like a gopher runs by, or my other dog has something she wants, and she can't hold that position and she can't focus anymore. Well, it's understandable. We never practiced having her focus around distractions. So a lot of what we're doing is putting the dog into commands or positions. No. And then have them practice holding those positions as we make distractions on purpose. No, no. Good. Okay, break. But if I never challenge the dog in the training sessions and I never create distractions, when they're in the real world and there's distractions, or they're even at our house and there's a lot going on, the dog is not going to be able to listen. They're not going to behave the same. I have to train the dog, then create distractions, create stress, get the dog excited, and then practice training with them when there's distractions, when they're stressed, when they're excited, and then they'll listen when they're stressed or distracted or excited. You notice I worked with the dog right now, maybe 15 minutes, and then I pause. I end the session right now. The dog just did great. I end the session on a high note. I did challenge the dog, but overwhelmingly the dog succeeded. And that's where a lot of the skill, um, as a trainer comes in, is knowing, hey, how much do I challenge the dog? How much do I challenge myself right now? How much of a challenge is too much? So typically after a training session, we're going to box the dog up. We're going to put the dog in a crate, put the dog somewhere calm. Um, she was not happy earlier because we put her in a crate and closed the door. And she was like, "What the heck? No, don't close the door." Um, but she had to understand, hey, like, we have you in here because we're not watching you, and you're not at a point where I'm going to leave you with all the other dogs roaming around in the yard. But also, we want to put you in here so you have time to process what we just went over. We just taught you some really important stuff, and we want to make sure you're going to have time to process it, to go over it, to give it time to digest and sink in. So, like I said, typically we work with the dog, and then we put the dog somewhere calm to process. Sometimes alternatively, what I'll do, like let's say I'm on a walk or I go to take the dogs on an outing, maybe I work the dog and then I give them freedom to run around or to smell. Or I work the dog and then I put them in the yard, ideally by themselves to calmly smell and potty. But that's all. Good session here with Remi the Visla. Hopefully you found this informative. Um, and it's a lot, I know, it's a lot of information. But she's ultimately doing really good and we're proud of her. Okay, take care.